Driven, RE/MAX Hallmark's real estate show, with your hosts, Johnder, Perez, and Dan Salhany.
All right, let's go. So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Driven Real Estate Show with RE/MAX by RE/MAX Hallmark with your hosts, myself, Johnder, Perez, and
Dan Salhany. Thank you all for being here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for everybody being here, joining us live, and for those of you who will be watching this on our YouTube channel later. So today we have a fantastic guest. He has achieved, let's talk about his achievements first. He has achieved the RE/MAX Hall of Fame Award, RE/MAX Lifetime Achievement Award, and Chairman's Award, and consistently for the past few years, the Diamond Club Award. He has had a marketing background, so we're going to learn a little bit more about that as well. His name is Geoffrey Grace. Geoffrey, welcome to the Driven Real Estate Show.
Thank you for the introduction.
Awesome. So we're glad to have you here, and we're going to pick your brain a little bit and learn a little bit about you so we can learn how to succeed and grow in our real estate businesses. So Geoffrey, let's get started with this interview. First of all, what is the secret to your success?
I don't know if there's any one secret. I think if I had to boil it down, I would just say keeping my eyes out for opportunities and then following up and just putting in the hours and putting in the work and trying not to let anything slip by.
So simple as that, just hard work, just working, because you do a lot of, and we'll learn a lot more about this as we go on in our interview, you do a lot of networking, you do a lot of sharing across our entire network of RE/MAX Hallmark Realtors, and I'm sure as well outside of our brokerage, and just straight up attributed to hard work, eh?
Yeah, I don't think I'm great at any one particular thing. I think that the show's name is Driven, and that's what I am. I just want to work hard. And yeah, I mean, the networking has been fantastic, but really it doesn't comprise a huge portion of my business. A lot of it is just from everywhere, just coming in every day and chasing down all the leads.
So let's rewind a little bit, Geoffrey. Give us some insight on how you got started in real estate. Just a Coles Notes version of 15 years ago to today.
Yeah, well, I was almost born into it. My mother started in real estate when I was 9 years old. So I've been around it my entire life, pretty much. It's been, dinner table conversations, the whole thing. And I wanted to get into it right out of university, actually. My parents wouldn't let me. They wanted me to have a corporate job and get a couple of years of experience. If I was no good at real estate or if the market tanked, that I would have an industry to fall back into. So after graduating university, I went to BMW Canada for 3 years, worked in their national marketing department, and saw that the opportunity for income growth was slow and long in that environment. And so then I made the jump over to real estate.
Yeah, interesting story about your BMW days. I think you mentioned yesterday that you basically groveled and begged to get into that position or to get that opportunity. So do you want to share with us, from that point going forward, essentially, like what was the first year or 2 years of real estate like for you?
Yeah, so after BMW or getting that job?
No, after BMW.
Yeah. So summer of 2006, I just kind of fed up. The job that I had at BMW was great, but it was the same marketing programs run year after year. So but my first year was exciting. I learned what to do. My second year, I put a spin on everything. And my third year, I kind of got bored because I had already put my stamp on it, which is one of the things I love about real estate because, we have clients, but we only have the same client for a matter of a few weeks or a few months. And then we move on to work for other clients. So even though we're doing the same job every single day, we're doing it for different people. So myself, at least, I never get bored of it because I'm always working with different people. So in the summer, I kind of hit the wall and was like, I want to get out of this. It's time to get into real estate. And I actually looked online and found that phase one was available in, I think, London, Ontario. There was no online stuff. It was very difficult. There was tons of people trying to get in. So there's long wait lists. So I actually did one phase in London and one phase in Niagara Falls. I commuted to Niagara Falls every day for that course. And so I just gave my notice and signed up for real estate and jumped right in.
Well, it looks like you wanted, or you're looking for that excitement of not having to do the same thing over and over again. And even though that sort of corporate setting was kind of maybe a solid foundation for you, you realize it wasn't it. So when you got into real estate, Geoffrey, and mind you, you've been in the business now for 15 years, so you've learned a lot over the years. And of course, you've got the stellar achievements that reflect that. But starting out, obviously you weren't making Diamond Club, Chairman Club. So what would you say was the biggest challenge when you first started in the business? And kind of take us through that journey of how you navigated your way through these challenges to the point where you now have a fantastic business, and everything that you've created right now is based on your experiences. So what was the biggest challenge and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, good question. I didn't read over the questions ahead of time, so I'm going off the cuff with whatever you're asking me here. It might sound a bit weird, but I don't really see anything as a big challenge. Like I don't feel like I've come across any huge hurdles in the business. It's just, it takes time to grow your business, right? And I think only in the last year or two have I noticed, like I really did know outbound marketing over the last year, and did the most number of deals I've ever done. Obviously, the market's been very hot, so I benefited from the overall market activity. But probably at the beginning, I was 26, which in hindsight is not super young, but I've been told I have a bit of a baby face. So at 26, I probably look like I was like 18. And so probably for a few people, being okay hiring someone that looked my age, with a pretty important part of their life's financial transaction. But honestly, I didn't come across that too many times. Maybe there were people that never called me in for that, and I just didn't know that that was an objection. But once I got in front of people, I only remember it coming up once or twice. And I remember asking this gentleman, he was like 70 years old, when he asked me how old I was. And I asked him if he wanted to know how old I was or how many houses I'd sold that year, right? Because it didn't really matter how old I was, it mattered what I was doing, right? So I would say, yeah, when you're starting out, just that, like, you're new to the business, you don't have a reputation. And if you're starting when you're younger in your years, you've got that hurdle. The not having a reputation, I benefited from. I can't say I didn't, because our family was in the business for a number of years prior to me joining. So I have to give credit to that at least I think, because we're fairly geographically based with where we sell our properties, when I sat down in front of someone, because I'd met them in an open house or I'd cold called them or however I got in touch with them, there must have been some pre-warming to them already, knowing that they'd seen the name around.
So let's talk about the ties and how you've built your business to where it is today. Because I know part of our pre-interviews, whenever we do the Driven program, we obviously have a pre-dry run with the person that we're interviewing, just so we can get some comforts and get some ideas. And you mentioned yesterday that the first year was tough, was really tough, and that it took you quite some time to, even though you were falling under this umbrella with the Grace family, it took you quite some time to even make your first sale, and that there were some financial strains that were put on you as well with your lines of credits and all this other stuff. So can you speak to us about that and how your mindset was just to keep forging forward?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, I just jump into something with 2 feet. I never burn the bridge, but I'm happy to burn the ships and send them off and not have that escape plan. So when I gave notice at BMW, I remember saying to my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, like, hey, look, if I stick around for a couple more months, I'm going to get this great deal on this new BMW, and then I can exit at that point. But I was just burnt out and didn't want to do it anymore. And I was like, I'm done. And then I signed up for the courses. So it's not like I went and did the courses while I was working and got prepared, which would have been the smarter thing to do, so that you're licensed and ready to sell when you stop getting your last paycheck at your last job. But for me, I think I work really well when there's pressure on. So yeah, that's what I did. And I was lucky back then. My wife was paying all of the rent. I came from a real estate family, and I never wanted to pay rent in my life. So I said, look, she asked me to move in with her, and I said, I'll move in with you, but I'm not paying any rent. I'm saving my money up to buy a house. And so we actually bought our first house before we got married, because that was the priority. But the first couple of months of working, yeah, like I was fully licensed in, I would say, November. And then I got my first listing. It was actually a snowstorm like we just had. I walked up to a door and knocked on it and said, I heard you're thinking of selling. I've got a buyer for your house, and kind of put the deal all together. It was maybe in February, but it was like a 6-month closing on that deal. So it didn't close until like August, which was almost a year after I got licensed. I had a few more deals falling after that, but I think it was about 10 months from when I quit my job and stopped my paycheck at BMW to my first real estate transaction. And back then I had more times on my hands, so I was working out and I was in great shape. And I lost about like 10 or 15 pounds because I couldn't afford to buy the food that I was used to eating. And I just maxed everything out. But to me, there was never a question that was going to pay itself back in spades. Like I had no problem racking a Visa or a line of credit up because I knew it was all going to come pouring in.
So it's interesting, I think that there's a perception out there of, people that, have family in real estate or have all, that there's just opportunity just falls on their lap. And it sounds like you went through the common struggle that most do when they enter into the business, which is getting going, acquiring clients, and then being able to transact. So just back to where your business is today. So fast forward from, let's say the last 4 or 5 years, because I know that, you've kind of taken over the controls of the ship and you've really propelled yourself into, being available and being very much entrepreneurial with your business. And, can you share with us how you built it to the point of where it is today?
It's a good question. I'd love to know how. Honestly, I don't know. I think, my parents kind of stepped out of a selling role back in, I think 2019 was probably the first year they had stopped selling. There was probably a number of years leading up to that where they were only doing a few deals a year. And I was kind of saying to them, like, why bother, logging in every day and pretending like you're working full time when you're only doing a couple of deals a year. Like, go enjoy life and let me handle those extra couple of deals a year you might have. And even then, like, their past client referrals from their past network might lead to 2 deals a year right now or so. Like, it doesn't make a huge portion of what we're doing. But in terms of how we've gotten to where we are now, I'm a bit confused myself. Like I said, we haven't really done any outbound marketing. I think it just comes down to, I always tell people, like, do what you say you're going to do and respond to people on time and, give people high service with a smile, right? At the end of the day, no one's going to remember what you charged them. They're going to remember how they felt for you, interacting with them over that transaction. I just signed up a listing today for 0.5% higher than what another agent was offering, but it wasn't about the money. It was about what we were going to do for that client. So I think it's been a slow burn for a couple of years, and you just work hard. You do what you say you're going to do, and there becomes a certain point where you've helped enough people, and people have, like, now after 15 years, I'm going through life cycles. Like, I'm helping people that bought their first house sell and move to a farm because their kid's 17 now, and I helped them buy the house when their kid was like 6 years old, right? And so there's that natural cycle of friends and family.
And so it'd be fair to say, like, over time, I mean, you did, as a second generation realtor, you did have the family name. However, you did create your own legacy in the sense that, and you mentioned this yesterday as well, that sort of the marketing, the systems that evolved over time were from the Grace family. However, your business was your own. You had no leads given to you. Everything you had to basically drive on your own accord, and basically lead generate, build, prospect as you went along. And this goes to our next question, which actually Brandon here is also tying in sort of his question here, is that if you were a new agent starting today, what's the one thing you would do or focus on every day? Think about 80% of your day. This ties into our question, which is, what does your typical day look like, Geoffrey? And before we started this interview, you were asking me, what do I do every single day? And then I flipped the question back to you. So why don't you answer this question and sort of Brandon's question at the same time? What does Geoffrey's day look like today, now that he's achieved all of these accolades and successes? And what did it look like when you were first starting out? And for our newer agents, what should they be focusing on 80% of their day?
Sure. And I don't know if it's fair to say I've received accolades and success. I mean, I've gotten some awards, but I still want to sell a heck of a lot more than I do now. So by no means would I say that I'm, uber successful. There's a lot of people doing a lot better than me that I'm looking to follow as well. So yeah, my days start a little bit later than most probably. I find that I've always been a bit of a night owl. I kind of work in the evening better when no one's calling me and I can get work done. And so that usually gets my day started a bit later. So it's not uncommon that I'm not coming to the office till about 10 a.m. probably. And right now, I'm not honestly structured at all in terms of what I do in a day. I'm actually being a bit reactive to things. And that's something that like I've grown for 15 years, and then right now I'm at a point where I'm trying to grow even more. And one of the solutions I'm trying to look at is I've been to a lot of the Richard Robbins, not like the big 1,000-person events, but like smaller 1 or 2 day team events, and heard from a lot of the individuals, and they've really tried to break their schedule down to like 3 things. Like they should really only be doing 3 things every single day. It's usually, keeping in touch with past clients or meeting new people, convincing people to hire them, and then essentially doing the transaction and trying to outsource everything else, which is you can't do when you're starting because you have to do it all, right? But now I'm in a position where I find myself reacting to too many things and too many logistics and things that, like, if I focus on this too much, are going to stunt that growth that I want to see over the next couple of years. So we've got the admin in the office. I'm actually hiring for 2 new positions over the next month or 2. I'm trying to take as much off my plate as possible and realize what I'm good at and what I like doing is serving people and meeting people and letting a lot of that work go to other people. To Brandon's question about when you're first starting out, open houses were a big deal in our community when I first started out. So the step ahead that I did have is that my parents had listings. So starting out as an agent, I wouldn't have had those listings. And so I wouldn't have had open houses to be in. I could have probably gone to, if I'd been on my own starting at a different brokerage, I could have gone to other agents and said, let me work your open houses. But here I was working with my parents. So I would work every single weekend, 2 open houses. I would sometimes do 4-hour open houses, open them an hour early and close them an hour later, like just maximize the time I get in front of people, because sure, you've got some looky-loos, but generally speaking, people coming to open a house have some interest in real estate, whether they're shopping immediately or shopping for the future, or whether they're actually interviewing agents quietly without us knowing for their own move. But then the big thing there was just follow-up. Like I would have people come through an open house and I would make sure that I got their information, and I would make sure I wrote handwritten cards, and I would drive around later that night and drop it off in all their mailboxes. I'd go on Geo Warehouse, see where they lived if they didn't give me their address, and just really like follow up with people. I remember one of my clients who has given me so many referrals. Like if I added up over the years, it's so much business. I hung over his driveway because I was doing a buyer visit across the street. So I knocked on his door and said, sorry to bother you. I'm kind of hanging over your driveway by 6 inches. I'm going to be here for an hour. Is that okay with you? My clients ended up being late. I ended up chatting with the guy in the conversation. He mentioned he was thinking of moving eventually. So I followed up with a letter. Like I didn't let that go. I followed up with a letter. He never responded to me. Then I ran into him at the local gas station like 2 weeks later, and I could tell he was embarrassed that he never followed up. And then I followed up with another letter after that. And I just kept going until one day he called me and we did business together, and there it grew. So I think whether it's open houses now or whether it's another medium, like you just have to get yourself in front of people who have some interest in real estate. And you have to, like, I'm really old school. My database is this book. And I don't have them in front of me right now, but I have a pile of these books. Like I probably have like 8 of them stacked up. And there's a book for every year. And when I meet someone, I put their name in that book. And the only way their name comes out of that book is if they do a deal with me. And so I can go back to those books at any point and look at people's names and realize these people haven't done anything with me yet. I can follow up with them super easily. I find with CRMs, they get buried inside a computer and I don't remember the people. So for me, it's just try and get in front of people and don't start following up.
It's interesting, so you've answered, you've pretty much answered our next question, which is, what's a typical day look like for you, Geoffrey? And as I think Geoffrey's message probably and hopefully is resonating with a lot of you that, we come to these sessions to try to get, the crystal ball or the magic pill or whatever the case may be.
There's no magic pill.
Whatever you want to call it, as to what this individual is doing to succeed at such a high level. And, for you, it sounds like you're in alignment with the 90 percentile, which is, just grinding it out and, trying to find your pace on a daily basis, but there really theoretically isn't a huge structure there. Imagine if you were structured, holy cow.
That's what I'm working on.
So give us a little bit of insight of what, and I know you mentioned that your typical days, you don't come to work very early and so forth, but can you just walk us through, what your day would look like, Monday through Friday?
Yeah. So, I mean, today so far, I got into the office. I've got a list of probably about 10 properties or so that want to hit the market between now and sort of May. And I'm feeling a bit anxious because I've gotten them all written down, but I don't have everyone under contract yet. I'm a little bit loosey with that, especially when I'm dealing with clients I've worked with before. On the buying side, I always get BRAs signed super early. I'm a huge believer in BRAs. But on the listing side, I usually wait a little bit longer. So I've been firing out some listing agreements to people. Oh, sorry, someone's calling through on my iPad here. I was sending out some listing agreements to people, sort of chasing that down. And then there's all of the little stuff. Like I have a listing last night and the owner called me at 11:30 saying someone left the back door unlocked, right? And, left the lights on and blah, blah, blah. So now I have to run over there today, take care of that. I was over there shoveling it the other day because it's a vacant property and it got covered in snow, right? So it's everything. I'm trying to get as many of the administrative things off of my back as possible. But I think it's because my job at BMW, I was in event marketing. And so I would be out there in the field, like banging signs on the ground, meeting people, showing them the cars. I really like doing the work. I enjoy it. There's nothing I wouldn't ask anyone on the team to do that I haven't done 100 times. And I get great satisfaction out of driving to a house and doing something physically that I need to do. But I'm realizing that I'm not being the best team leader in that respect when my job is to generate as much business as possible for myself and the other people on the team. I need to let some of that go and focus on those higher mile items. But yeah, right now it's really just getting the work done on this past year, I was about 80% listings and 20% purchases. And so it's really a lot of just logistics around the listings. What I want to do moving forward is a lot more outbound marketing. And when I say marketing, like my marketing is a little bit more customized. Like I noticed someone purchased a 50-foot lot and I'm thinking they're probably going to sever it into 2 25-foot lots. And I think we can bring value to that table for them. So I'm just writing a letter. I've never met them. I didn't get their name from database. It's just from me driving around and noticing things.
So it's just basically the hunt. And it seems like
I like hunting.
Yeah, there you go. It's a very appropriate analogy. And you have that instinct. And you know what? One thing you can't fake is enthusiasm. I mean, you either love this business or you don't. And I'm sure all of us watching this agree. And Geoffrey, what you have is that, and you exude that energy, especially as you're answering these questions. So here's the next one. And I'm going to tie it to Lisa's question because Lisa has an amazing question about, she's a big Tom Ferry fan. He talks about exposure and how it's important to align yourself with and gain exposure with those who are like-minded or excite you, or who you want to learn from. Who is it for you that excites you, and who is it that you want to learn from? And let's tie this in with, you've got such huge energy for this, and it's your could be your ability that you've developed over time, your natural passion for this business. But what is it that motivates you to keep on going? I mean, you love to do your work. You do it every single day. You do that hustle and you do that grind. What keeps you motivated? And then who is it for you that excites you, to Lisa's question, and who do you want to learn from, or who are you inspired by?
Sure. Yeah. So the motivation first, it's a bad answer and some people sort of foo-foo it, but a lot of it is driven by money, right? And I know we're all here to help people and we're here to add value to their relationships, but for me, the reason why I go to work every day is to provide for my family and put us in a position that I won't have to grind as hard as I'm grinding right now forever, right? So the more business that I can do and the more money that I can make earlier, it's going to compound, and then I can eventually take that foot off the gas a little bit. I love my work, so I'm never going to take my foot fully off the gas. And I don't know whether that's an answer that you guys want to hear from somebody, because it's maybe not the most altruistic answer, but I want our family to live well, and that's, I worked really hard in my job at BMW. Like the hours I put in were insane. And I made a $55,000 a year salary. And so when I looked at real estate, I was like, wow, I already worked that hard. I can switch to this industry. And I think my first year in real estate, I might've been like 3.5 times what I made in my prior career. Right. So obviously helping clients is amazing. And I'm not one of these realtors. Like I've met realtors at various training courses, they really don't like being a realtor. They happen to be good at attracting clients, and they're really maybe better at like running a business. That's not me. I actually really like the clients. I really like people. I really like helping them. So I don't, while on one hand, I say that I like money and I want to build my family, I've never looked at a client and like calculated what I'm going to make from that deal. Like I never look at what the paychecks are at the end of the day. I've got a client who I helped lease a condo for $1,400, who has turned into at least $15 million in sales from their sphere of network, right? So I'll put in the same amount of work for a $1,400 lease that I will for a $3 million home. It's always about the client, but truly I'm driven by trying to do as well as I can because I'm competitive with myself. With regards to sort of who I listen to or who I want to be around, was that the sort of follow-up question?
Oh, hey, I mean, it's very straight up, and then we love the way that you answered it, because like, hey, who doesn't love money, and who doesn't love what it actually means for your financial freedom, for your family's financial freedom. But what I love about your answer is the fact that yes, this is a very, like, I mean, it's commission-based business, right? And
Yeah.
it's really depending upon your input, but the fact that you don't discriminate between, oh, here's a lease, I'm only going to do this much for it, and here's a $3 million client, I'm going to do something differently for that. The fact that you don't look at that is it's very inspirational, because I mean, you put in the same effort to every client, and
Yeah,
your
and it's the same
dedication.
with marketing a property. Like if there's a $600,000 condo or a $3 million house, we're still staging it as part of our service, and we're not changing our fees. So we're less profitable on the less expensive properties,
Mhm.
but that's okay because we've just helped one more person and we brought one more person into our ecosystem that, you know, who knows where it'll go to. I'm not sure who it was it Lisa that was typing and asking that question earlier?
I'm just taking a look at the chat here.
So you mentioned Tom Ferry. So, you know, who have I listened to? I think that I've never signed up for coaching. I've never like been in a program where I'm constantly following an individual. I've listened. Sorry, I'm getting another call. I've listened to a few individuals. Like, who is the one that Buffini? So I did some Buffini programming. I thought that was great for repeat and referral, keeping in touch with people, no cards, all the rest of that. I thought that was fantastic. I've been listening to Richard Robbins recently on more of like a team growth type of stuff. He's got a podcast that I listen to, and I just try and pay attention to what other people who run teams that are further ahead than me are doing, and just picking up little ideas here and there. The mastermind groups that we've been doing in Hallmark have been great with colleagues in different markets. That's been pretty fantastic. And then, you know, he's a divisive figure, but I like Grant Cardone. I don't know if you guys know Grant Cardone or not.
Yep.
I think he's maybe kind of gone off the rails a little bit in recent years and getting a little bit gimmicky, but his book 10X, like I love that book, and I had the whole team read it. And that whole book is just about effort, right? You have to put in 10 times more effort than you think you're going to have to put in to get the results.
So I just want to go back to one of your comments earlier, Jeff. You mentioned that, you know, I love people and I love dealing with people and so forth. So I know that one of the things that, since I met you in 2016, that you've been brilliant at is your networking within the organization and within the Remax family. That's the one thing that you definitely, in my view anyways, with my experience with you, you stand out, you shine with that. So can you talk to us a little bit about that, and how, you know, you've received the benefit from that networking within the Hallmark family?
Yeah, you said that a couple of times, and I find it really funny because like I don't think that I network, and so it's interesting my own perception versus of your perception on the outside.
Lisa Davenport is shaking her head up and down, and a few people are also. So you know, it's obvious to us. But anyways, go on.
I just like being social. Like I'm the guy. My wife makes fun of me because she's not social like that. Where in university, my dorm room was always open. Like I always want to be interacting with people. I'm a very social animal. So for me with Ottawa, it was great. There was an event we came down. I remember we took the train down and went to an Ottawa-Toronto game. We raised a bunch of money for a charity there because Toronto beat you guys. And I met a lot of great agents there. And there's been a couple of opportunities to meet great agents. And I haven't networked. Like I don't network with them. I don't have them on my calendar to give them like quarterly calls. I don't send them mailers. I don't do any of that. I just hopefully they feel the same. Like I think that I've met true friends through these people. And, you know, I'll pick up when I see someone has a kid, I'll send them a stuffed animal for their baby, and I'll give them a call, congratulate them. And it's like about being a real human. And as I was saying to you yesterday, what I'm looking for in those, I'm not looking for anything, but you know, the best thing that I could get from those relationships is learning. Like, how many times do I have a client going to Ottawa? Not very often. I wish I could get you guys all more referrals, but it's just not a reality, right? And really, how many of the agents in Ottawa continually have people coming to Toronto? Probably not that much. Like, I'm not in a military relocation market. I don't have that sort of stream. So what I'm hoping to get out of it is just sharing ideas. And I haven't done it yet. And I've actually been thinking of doing it. I want to maybe more proactively communicate with agents in other markets and basically just give them ideas of what I do. Like, whether it's once a month or once a quarter, just say, hey, here's something I do. Here's how I do it. I think it's great. It works for me. You know, why don't you? And if I can share with agents in other markets things that I do that work, then hopefully at some point they just give me a call and say, hey, you know what, Jeff, thanks. I want to share this thing that I do in my market that works. Because as I said to you, Dan, you know, if I can get 3 more transactions a year in my marketplace out of some habit or some marketing piece or something that I pick up from someone else, that's way more income than I'm going to get out of one referral from somebody.
And I think, speaking to what you were suggesting about sharing and whatnot, Geoffrey, and just to put a plug in for our P2Ps, our peer-to-peers, that you guys will all belong to a certain group. These are the perfect environments where people like Geoffrey at all different levels come into these environments and do share, just like he's taking the time today to share a little bit of insight. And hopefully you guys grab a little bit of inspiration and a couple of nuggets out of the conversation today, that, you know, if somebody like Geoffrey, who came into the business 15 years ago, quite young, didn't have anything handed to him, grinded it out, went through a long period of time without receiving any commissions, just like many of us, has been able to establish and grow and weathered the storms and so forth to get where he is today. Anybody can do it. Brandon's got a quick question here, and
sorry, Dan, just one thing. Like, there might not be that golden nugget that someone's looking for in this call, because a lot of my default answers have been, I don't know, just work hard. And we're not really getting into the details of like specifics. But I'm happy to talk with people if they have much more specific questions, if they want to reach out to me afterwards.
Well, to be fair, I think the golden nugget is work hard, because I think a lot of people think this business is easier than it is. I mean, it is easy if you do your work, if you work hard at it, right? So I think one practical advice is that. And I think everything else, as Geoffrey's been saying, is strategies and tactics and implementation. But it doesn't replace the fact that you've got to execute on whatever your ideas are.
I think confidence too, as well. I think a lot of people that I've met coming into the business that are newer, I can sense the lack of confidence in them. And my confidence can sometimes come across as cockiness, if you ask my sister. And I try not to make that happen. But right from the get-go, when I was meeting people in their living room trying to list their expensive houses in year 1, I was like 100% confident that I was the guy for the job and that they would be foolish not to hire me. And I think that that's really important to get into that mindset.
A lot of it is mindset, and easy is average, right? So when we talk about this business being easy, if you want to do average, then it's not a problem. But if you want to excel at different levels, I think that you got to put the pedal to the metal, and fill your funnel with growth-minded. Like, for example, you talked about Buffini, you talked about Richard Robbins, you talked about team things. So you're constantly, as much as you think you're not doing it, you are subconsciously somehow doing it, because you're sharing that in the conversation here today.
Yeah, and your sister's here, so maybe we can ask her that.
I saw her.
Brandon had a quick question for you, Geoffrey. It's just, how do you approach conversations with past clients versus new clients, versus new interactions, and how do you actively solve the problem of where's my next deal coming from and keeping your funnel filled?
Yeah, I'm not good, Brandon, at treating my past clients as professionally as I should with new clients. I think some of us fall into this trap, and I need to be careful of it, where I never assume business from anyone. I'm very much, if a past client calls me and wants to hire me, I'm very clear, whether it's in an email or on the phone, that I appreciate they calling me. I know that there's 90,000 realtors in Toronto, and I know they got to pick up many people, and that I don't assume that they're going to call me. So I appreciate the fact that they have. So I always make that very clear up front. But with past clients, I don't go through the sales pitch. I don't go through the, like, bullet points. Like I basically just take them under my wing and say, okay, let's do this. So and I also have to be careful of, even if it's not a past client, if it's someone you know, so if it's a good friend of yours, if it's a neighbor of yours, someone in your sphere, you have to be careful to not assume at the early part of that conversation that they're going to hire you. You need to give them the same thorough, clear communication that you would give someone who's never met you before, because I do find a lot of people make the assumption when there's someone close to them that they're going to get that business. And if you don't give them the clear pitch and the reasons why they should hire you like you would a stranger, they might not know all those reasons, right? So yeah, I'm definitely more relaxed with past clients, and sometimes, but I don't know if I have to be, because none of them ever don't hire me. Like I've never been in a situation where I've been too comfortable with someone and then they've dipped out of that because they didn't like how I was acting. Like I think I can read people pretty well and try, and if someone is more casual, I can be casual with them. And if it's one of my clients who's an accountant or an engineer and I know needs more of like a numbers presentation, I'll go that direction. What was the second part of your question, Brendan? Sorry.
Or is it here? So he talked about supply. How do you keep your pipeline, fed?
The last 2 years has been the first time where I consistently had a pipeline of maybe 3 or 4 listings that I knew were coming down. Usually what would happen before is I would do a deal, and then I don't know, like a week or 2 later, I would get a call from someone, and then I'd work on the next deal. I would never really have a board that had 5 or 6 names, like maybe leads, but never like, these are people I know I'm listing their house in the next 6 months. And it's grown this year to be like double digits now starting the year, which is kind of amazing. But also puts me in a position where I'm like, okay, I can't just focus on those 10 homes, because I'm going to get through those. And then what am I going to do after that once those are done, right? So I'm still out there like actively writing letters to people and being in touch with clients and coming up with weight. Like if you slow down, you're going to have a dip in like 3 or 4 months, right? It's like what your work now. And I think that's what some of the guys on the team have learned that they might not have known at the very beginning, was that you might be putting in tons of work right now and not seeing the results, but it comes. And on the flip side, if you take your foot off the gas for that month and chill out and don't do anything, you're going to get hit and you're going to have to work It's like a train, right? It's got all that weight behind it, and it takes only a little bit of effort to keep the momentum of that train going. But if you stop it and you have to start it again, it takes a ridiculous amount of effort to get it rolling.
That's a great analogy. And it brings us to this final question that we have here. And you can't say work hard as the answer, okay, Geoffrey?
I'm trying not to.
Okay, great. We have a lot of new realtors, new Hallmarkers, and of course our friends from other brokerages as well joining us and watching this. And we also have experienced realtors who for the past couple of years, since the pandemic, have had challenges, have had to relook at how they're doing their business. You've been in the business for 15 years. You've had your successes. You built things up, even though you didn't think that you maybe had systems or things like that going. You did bring it to a point where you're seeing your successes today. What would your advice be to somebody new watching this, or to somebody who's looking at maybe kind of reinventing their business? What would you say to them?
Well, if it's someone new, it does start with work hard, but I won't stop there. I think that you can only work hard to a certain degree before you start to get pretty tired and burn yourself out. And I hadn't experienced that up until maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And in the last 2.5 years, there's probably been about 3 times where for a couple of weeks, I was just like, no one call me. Like I just would like lie down on my floor in my office and stare at the ceiling for 10 minutes because it was just like, there was too much. It was overwhelming. And so I think as early as possible, and like, look, our average price point is significantly higher than it was 15 years ago when I started in this business. So our opportunity to make money is significantly higher. I would be hiring an admin very early in the process. Like to me, if you are making, I don't know, I'm making this up, so maybe you guys have a more statistical number. If you hit $150,000, I would look at starting to hire an admin. And that might seem early because your admin salary might be, I don't know, depends on your marketplace, $60,000, somewhere in that or more in downtown Toronto. So that's a significant chunk. But the way I always thought about it was that I had to have that $60,000 in the bank right now to pay that person. But the reality is you're paying them bi-weekly, right? And so you don't need to make that one-time payment of that big chunk of money, but get as much help around you as you can as early on. And where the team is grown to right now, and where we continue to hopefully grow to, is really, and the PRAC I think has helped us really think like a business more so, is create a team like a company. You don't have people in a large company doing each other's jobs. You have everyone doing their job, right? And so everyone on the team right now has a job. Unfortunately, me, I'm wearing a couple of hats. And so I need to make sure that I hire a few more people to get a few of those hats off. But I think you will grow slower than you want to. I've grown slowly over the years. Like there's people who started at the same time as me who are more successful than me right now because they hacked that before I did, that they brought more people around them earlier on and leveraged everybody.
Fantastic.
So I don't know if that would help someone who's an existing agent. Like I would say, look at your business right now. And I see a lot of agents who have been in the business for a while who are doing it just themselves. And if you're happy with that, fine. But if you can, it doesn't have to be other sales reps, but on the administrative, on the marketing, on that side of things, I would say really get someone to help you out.
And I think that's key because, and I'm not just saying this to, toot our own horn, but I mean, it is what it is. Remax and Remax Hallmark, we provide a lot of different resources that are available. And we see that all the time. I see Steve is here as well. And our leadership team sees that one of the biggest challenges is when we don't realize that, this is our core competency or our unique ability. But instead we're trying to take everything on all at once, it kind of hinders that growth. And to Geoffrey's point, recognizing that earlier on, of course, would have changed your business. But the fact that you did recognize that has led you to a different trajectory than what you would be. We probably wouldn't be talking about the same things if you didn't do that. Exactly.
Yeah. Don't be cheap, right? Investing in yourself, whether investing in yourself through training programs, whether investing in yourself through marketing, whether in terms of hiring people around you, if you put money out in the universe wisely, it will multiply.
Perfect. Any questions for Jeff? Well, we've got him here for the next minute or two.
So we have yeah, go ahead. You want to read?
I was just going to say, we've posted Geoffrey's contact information. So we encourage you guys to reach out to one another, to see each other on the social platforms. And I'm sure Geoffrey would be happy to connect with any one of you. So, feel free to find him, track him down and connect with him. He's very much a connective person and likes
I'm not going to answer your call before 9 a.m. though.
All right, there you go. What core skills, another one from Brandon, what core skills have you trained and developed and focused on throughout your career and seen growth from it? Let's answer that.
Again, I'm a horrible person to interview on this because, I just soak it all up. Like I don't go at it with a particular, like, okay, this quarter or this year, I want to develop this or learn this. Like I'm just always listening to podcasts in the car, reading a few less books now because I've read a ton of them, being in masterminds. There's scripts that I know that I don't even realize are scripts. I just think that I made it up. And then when I think about it, no, in fact, I got it somewhere, that just roll off the tongue, not sounding like a script because I truly believe it. And I've just said it enough times. So I would say you just need to soak up as much as you can from as many places as you can. And don't be afraid to go back and read that book a second time because you're going to pick up some things that you didn't pick up the first time. I haven't really been targeted around specifics to learn.
So it sounds like it's just a lot of practice, right? And practice that's come from different medias, different things that are available to everybody. And we're so blessed today with so much free stuff, as a matter of fact, that it's actually become inexpensive to get educated and to get information and have resources at your fingertips. And it just sounds like I know Geoffrey listens to podcasts when he's in his car and stuff like that. So you're also, so from a skill set perspective, Brandon, it sounds like Jeff's just utilizing any additional times that he might have to kind of enhance his skills without even knowing that he's doing it because he actually likes the stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to read a fiction book. I just am not turned on by that. But I'll pick up a business book and I'll read it because I see the value it's going to provide me, right?
We've got Mr. Tabrizi that's on here that I'm trying to unmute. That's like the.
Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Geoffrey, thank you for sharing your insight with everyone.
Hey, Steve.
I mean, knowing Geoffrey and I'm listening to the interview today, maybe Brandon, I think what Geoffrey probably does better, it's that creating that habit. When he mentioned he listened to a nice podcast that maybe inspired him, maybe learn something in industry. That's the skill set that he has developed, that basically constantly educate himself. Am I right, Geoffrey? So I see you, I watch you, you're quite information savvy. I have, every time I had a conversation with Geoffrey, I realized that he's basically looking for proper information to direct his client or make a sound minded decision to make sure that everybody's protected. And that's really a skill set. We always constantly talk with everyone at the coaching. We said, you know what? First thing in the morning, what do you got to do? You got to surround yourself with the information that are related to our business. It's not only real estate. Oh, how many homes sold? How many are available? There's so many relevant information in our industry that they come from other sort of a tie industry to our industry. So all of you should basically keep educating yourself on a consistent basis. It's not always about a coach, be it Tom Ferry, Mike Ferry, or Richard Robbins or anything. There's so much information out there that can be really useful for you. That's what I thought maybe to share.
And I never watch or listen to the news. I don't know how many years ago it was. I heard someone mention it and I stopped. Like, I couldn't tell you what the weather's going to be like tomorrow. I have no clue what's happening in the economy. I don't know what's happening overseas. And that could be, ignorant to some, but it's just, I can't change what's happening in the world. So I really just don't care about hearing about it. Any of that time is going to be spent listening to something that can better myself versus the news that's pretty much like, you listen to the news, it's negative all day long. Everything's just a negative spin. They're creating this 24-hour news cycle. Like, you don't need your head to be in that space.
It's so true. Somebody asked me this morning, after my presentation yesterday, says, oh, Steve, you guys are all raised the bar with your performance in 2021. And the question all morning has been, we raised the bar. What are you going to happen in 2022? If you are raising the bar based on the figure that you produce, that's a wrong approach. You raise the bar in your behavior, in your business planning, in your mindset, in your conduct. We can't control the market. None of us can control the market. That's exactly what Geoffrey said. Who cares what the media keep pumping out? It's great to maybe understand it. Sometimes the one that they are credible, not every junk that comes out. But if you continue doing what you do on a daily basis, you always perform. You always perform.
I would say I would never focus on the dollars. I would focus on the number of sales, right? So for me, it's never been about how much money I'm making in a year. It's how many people I'm helping in the year. Because the more people you can help, the quicker that pipeline is going to expand and snowball. And then you get to the point where, like, I've had so many people call me in the last month talking about wanting to buy or sell that I didn't reach out to. Like, they just called me. And I'm so blessed and thankful for it. But it was just because I tried to help all of them for years and years and years. Like, silly little things that don't even have anything to do with real estate. I found out yesterday one of my past clients had a stroke this fall, and I hadn't talked to him since the fall. And he's been in and out of his house in the hospital. And I just said to him, look, man, like, real estate is not more important than life. Like, forget about houses. If you need me to come drop groceries off or do something or shovel your driveway, like, whatever, like, just call me. Because to me, it's about, if you can help someone in real estate or you can help them in their life, you're helping them. You do good deeds and it's going to come back.
So I just want to, before we wrap up, I just want to comment to two things. First of all, Geoffrey, I think that part of you has been a very special part of you, and that's been very evident that you're a very giving individual. And I see it I'm going to give you an example. There was something said earlier in the chat, and within seconds, Geoffrey sent me a message saying, "Can you add me to that?" So I think it's also about being aware of what opportunities are around you to expand your presence, whether it's within the company or outside the company, and so forth. And then, we've had numerous golf tournaments and events and so forth. And Geoffrey usually contacts me and, how can I help? How can I participate? How can I be involved, et cetera, et cetera. And, I really want to encourage you guys, if you talk about skill set and the questions, Brandon, earlier on about what skills and whatnot, I think Geoffrey's just been a very giving person, very engaged, very involved. I see him on a lot of the chats putting in his input, not scared. He doesn't expect anything in return. He's just piping in. And
if I seem like I'm a jerk when I'm doing that, I'm not trying to pick fights with anyone. I'm just sharing what my thoughts are. Like, it's not.
Steve's laughing. Steve's laughing his head off over there.
No, I'm laughing because it's so true. You have to understand the other person when they comment. Sometimes that's why I always.
If you don't know me, you'd read my
exactly. Sometimes you feel that people are maybe have an impression of the writing of a post or email is sometimes totally different than the intention. So that's why I always tell the people on a communication on a social media, try to poke and find more information rather than be reactive and just jump to conclusion. And that's what everybody should do, because maybe his intention is different, maybe come across different. That's all you got to seek anyway.
Absolutely.
Guys, we're gonna wrap up. I don't think that there's any further questions. We just wanted to take a moment, first of all, to thank all of you guys for showing up and taking the time to be with us. We hope that you received some information, some inspiration from this session and from this driven interview. We want to thank Geoffrey for taking the time. You guys are taking your own personal time to come out and inspire and to help out and to share your experiences. And just thank you so much, Geoffrey. We both, Johnder and I, wish you continued success. We wish all of you guys that are on this interview or that are watching it live on Facebook or may look at it later on our YouTube channel, great success in the coming year. There's lots of amazing opportunities. We're surrounded by phenomenal people. Geoffrey Grace, you're one of them. And once again, we just want to thank you for being here and for sharing your.
I think we're all going to kill it this year. I think this year is going to be insane. I think that anyone who puts their head down and works hard is going to do very well. I'm also slightly nervous that what we're seeing right now isn't going to last forever. And so I would challenge anyone, and I'm challenging the people on my team as well. Now's the time to just kill it, because it's when we're seeing volumes in the market that we're seeing right now is an opportunity for you to sort of open your arms and grab that business. And then when the market slows down and you've got those past clients in your business, that's when you're going to be able to keep moving.
Yeah, there's opportunities on both sides, right? There's opportunities in great markets and there's opportunities in markets that taper off a little bit too, right? And we are part of a dominant company. We've got wonderful people like yourself and others that have shared their story on the Driven Show. And we can, like Manuela says here, we wish you continued success and continued success to everybody else that's on the program today.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much,
Thank you all for
Geoffrey.
being here.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. Have a good one.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.